let's talk about Palo Alto. No, hang
Okay.
on. I want to get this out of the way first.
Yeah.
Let's talk. You've been giving me a hard time because I was bundling it. So I had a whole SD-WAN, SSE, what's what, SASE, all that. And what did I do, Steve? What did I do? What did I throw in there? What did I throw in there into the mix?
Listen, I'm fighting the good fight. I'm preaching evangelizing for SASE, for the meeting point between SD-WAN technologies and security services edge. And for some reason, you're throwing in SD branch like it matters.
Look, so here's where my head's at, right? Yes, they are different technologies, but I would argue they are complementary technologies, right? And when you're talking SASE, right, you're probably also going to talk about something branch related at the same time. Like, it's not that big of a stretch that these things are going to come up completely separate silos. They aren't related, but they are two industry terms for a collection of things that have some overlap as network and security merge together. And so when you start talking about, hey, SASE, we're going to secure, we're going to bring networking and security together. Well, on the networking side, you've got wireless at these branches. You've got switching at these branches. You need to have visibility into these branches. That's my take on it. It's not to say that they are similar. It's to say that they are complementary. What do you think?
So I hear you loud and clear. I don't think they're similar, and they definitely complement each other.
Right. Complementary, not similar. I agree with that. I agree.
I think SD branch is complementary to SASE, but I think if I'm an enterprise and I'm looking to redesign my security stack, or I'm looking to go towards a zero trust network access model, or I'm trying to consolidate my tooling, I'm not pairing those subjects together. Would it be nice if they play together? Sure. Would it be nice if there were integrations? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the outcomes, I think, are really different. I think with your SASE stack, you're looking towards WAN connectivity. I think you're looking towards security, enabling remote access, enabling DIA. I think you're looking towards going to SaaS services securely. When I think of SD branch, I'm thinking of a combination of switching and wireless, all rolled in and packaged through zero trust provisioning or zero touch provisioning.
Yes.
So
I agree.
I'm fortunate enough to have lived the network background. The day-to-day of configuring your Wi-Fi and your switching has very little to do with configuring your WAN and configuring your security.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you're spot on that SASE tends to be very WAN focused, right? But there's a whole nother side to that, right? There is the LAN side, like that's a reality, right? And I think that you have to at least keep that in mind, right? And the management of that, the visibility into that, the security internally, right? All of those things have to come into play. Again, it's not to say that everyone's going to do these projects together. It's not to say that these teams are all going to come together. But I think at least from an education standpoint, I think it's important to say, hey, yeah, as you talk about SASE or SSE, like you're thinking, right, WAN side or externally, right? But you got to also take a look at what's internal on the LAN side. You can't ignore it. You can't just pretend it doesn't exist. Like, it's a need. And I would say maybe, Steve, it's because you're at Palo and you don't play on the LAN side as much.
You see, I could flip that around and say talking SD branch is a great way to add your switching and your Wi-Fi when your SD-WAN or your SASE stack is probably not as good as it should be.
Love it. I love it. All right. At least from it. And look, hey, don't forget, I'm not at Cisco anymore. So
neither am I. Thank God.
I can play at any space I want, right? No, I think at least from an education standpoint, I will say I think there can be confusion with some of these catchphrase terms, these acronyms, like, well, what does it actually mean? And there's a lot of confusion out there. Even if you look at something like SSE, it's hard to get everybody to agree as to what constitutes that. There's some major things that I think everybody's on the same page with, but again, depending on what vendor you talk to, what consultant you talk to, there's things that come up that maybe others don't agree with. So from my exercise, I think it's more about education.
And I totally respect that. I think there's a lot of marketing and sales pitches right now hovering around SASE, hovering around SSE, trying to pull the cover in their direction, the vendor direction. Listen, I worked at Cisco, you worked at Cisco, I'm now at Palo. What I find to be the guiding light is just read a Gartner report, read a Forrester report, trust the analysts. Most large enterprises are paying top dollar to have them consult and to have them map their projects, their roadmap to what the market's doing and where vendors are going, that's going to be your North Star.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair, right? And I mean, again, when it comes to things like SASE, Gartner literally created the term. So I guess maybe if you have to look to somebody to trust on what constitutes SASE, maybe they're the ones that gain that right. Although I think it's taken on a life of its own. And to your point, yeah, every vendor seems to try to spin things in their own light, which they should. That's their job.